you say good morning. Good morning. It's so glad you could join us today. We've already talked a lot this morning, but it's good to see you again. This is Adria. She's amazing, by the way. And Adria, just tell us a snapshot of your life, where you're from, where you live, kind of what's going on in Adria world.
All right. Well, I just recently graduated high school.
You want to tell us where you went to high school?
I went to Eagles Landing Christian, which is way far south.
The Eagles.
The Eagles, yes, absolutely.
If you're a Christian school, you're either the Eagles, the Cavaliers, the Crusaders. Did I cover them all? I think that's all.
I think that's about it.
Awesome.
So technically I'm from Jonesboro, but I say McDonough because I think the chances are greater of people knowing where that is. McDonough is known for one thing, and that it's the home of Jason Hayward from the Atlanta Braves. So that's about all we got going for us. It's a good thing to have.
Wow, I think the mayor of McDonough is here today. Sorry about that. Just kidding. So you just graduated from high school, and you just recently became a door holder in Passion Kids.
Yes.
And tell us how that happened. How did you decide to be a door holder, and how did you decide to be a door holder in Passion Kids?
Well, for you that are door holders, you know that you go online and you fill out a form. And I was like, okay, I'll do Passion Kids because I love kids. I babysit all the time. I'm one of 6 kids, so I was like, kids is where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to do it. But in the process, you can actually choose what grade you have a preference for. And I was like, I don't care. Just put me wherever. Just wherever. So when I got the call a week later, they asked again. They're like, do you have a preference of where you want to be? And I was like, no, wherever you put me is completely fine. So I went, and my first Sunday, I was in kindergarten girls. Loved it. I was with the leader that I was with, someone I knew, so I was in my comfort zone. And I was like, kindergarten girls all the way. They're awesome. So if you have a kindergarten girl, they're awesome. But the next week, when I got the planning center invite, it was first grade girls, and I was like, oh, okay. All right, I'll accept it.
That we made.
That I'm like, all right, here we go.
Ready.
I'll do it. So I showed up, and I was not in my comfort zone, so I was like, all right, God, if this is where I'm supposed to be, then let your will be done. So none of the girls knew me. I knew none of the girls. They had their leaders, so I'm just kind of chilling in the background. And then this little girl came in, and she's absolutely adorable. And I felt like I have a connection to this girl, but I don't know why. And she probably went home and was like, Mom, my tent leader stares at me all the time. Because I did. She probably was freaked out.
That's what we want from our door holders. We got this door holder staring at us.
So she left, and I didn't think anything about it. She came back next week, and I didn't think anything about it again. I knew there was something about her that was special. So the next week she came, and the cool thing is I do Passion Kids every other week, and they were coming every other week, so our schedules aligned perfectly. So she came in, and I was like, all right, I'm going to talk to this girl. So we went to the pond, which that's what they call it in Passion Kids. Like, this would be the pond. All you were the pond. And we came back, and we were just talking, and she's telling me about her weekend, and she's like, me and my mom and my brother, we went and stayed in a hotel and just like went swimming. So I'm like, all right, what do your parents do? Like, seriously, I gotta know. And she's like, well, my mom doesn't have a job anymore, and my mom doesn't work, and my dad used to have a job, but he died last year. And I looked at her and I said, my dad died when I was your age too. And she just looked at me, and in the most honest way that a child can, she just goes, I really hate when that happens. And I said, yeah, trust me, so do I. So it was right then, you were actually in the passion and purpose. And I was praying, I was like, God, show me my purpose wherever I am. And it was like I knew that my purpose was for that little girl. I knew that the reason God had called me from kindergarten girls to first grade when I so desperately wanted to stay in my comfort zone was because of that little girl. And it was almost taking my purpose, it was taking my pain to a purpose for that little girl.
So you said that, for you walking away that day, you realized God put her in your life to begin to say some things to you about what he really wanted to do and how he was working in your heart.
Yeah. I just think, like, even today, I think it was just God's way of saying, Adria, this is where you were. You were just a little girl, and at times you felt like you were still trapped there, but this is where you are now. And in the whole time, I didn't just bring you through it, I was carrying you through it as a daughter, and because I was your father. And so that's just been God's way of saying, like, I was faithful the whole time. And even when you didn't think I was bringing you out of it, look what I was doing. So it's been a healing process for me.
So you went in Passion Kids to be available, but yet God had another plan in mind, and He wanted to actually start doing the work of completing some of the healing that had been happening in your life for all these years now.
Yeah.
You wrote sort of this story, and you said, 10 years later, I have part of the why.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of the why. Tell us what you meant when you were saying that.
Well, I think when anyone loses a loved one, like, the first thing you do is you ask why. You're like, why me? Why us? Why did you do this? And a couple years ago, my camp counselor actually shared a verse with me that's out of John, and it says, you do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. So I was so desperately looking for that why. Like, in the heart, I was just like, why? But when I was looking, when that little girl told me that, and she's probably, I'm almost at a loss for words. I was just like, this is why.
So great. We have a picture of you and your dad. I don't know how old you are in this picture. Maybe you do. Do you remember how old you were?
I was probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah. It's an awesome, beautiful, happy picture. That looks like he's having an amazing time and you're having an amazing time as well. And so this little girl becomes a symbol of God's presence in your life. She becomes like God's voice to you that, Adria, I love you. I've always loved you. I'm here working in your life. And that same sense of confidence, I'm sure, came to her that day. You guys have gotten pretty close since then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So her mom and you ended up having a conversation. And I want to invite Courtney to come up and tell us a little bit of the other side of that conversation. This is Courtney Prey, everybody. And, hey, Courtney.
Hi, guys.
So, Courtney, obviously people know a little bit about your story and how you fit in already, but tell us who you are, what's going on in your life, and just a little bit about your story from the last few months of life.
Yeah, my name is Courtney Prey, and I met my husband Andrew at a very young age. We started dating when I was 14, dated for 5 years, got married at 19 and 20, and Andrew and I were married close to 11 years. We have 3 children.
I think we got a picture of your family,
Yeah.
by the way, so people can see all of you guys together.
Yeah. So we were married close to 11 years, have 3 children, and this past November, Andrew was also a worship pastor here at a church in Atlanta. And this past November, also an avid cyclist. He was out riding his bike and was tragically killed this past November. And
So you've been coming to Passion City some, and tell us about the weekend that this conversation happened between your daughter and Adria. Tell us about that weekend, because that was an interesting Sunday.
yes.
Just in how you guys got to Passion City Church that Sunday.
Yeah, well, we had been coming to Passion City some, and this one in particular weekend, it was so hard. It was a rainy, dark Saturday. The weekends tend to be the hardest for me because that's when Andrew would have been there. And this one in particular Saturday, I just felt like I needed to get out of the house. I needed to just get away, and just really, really struggling that day. So piled the kids in the car, and we got a hotel room here in Beckhead, and spent the night. Woke up the next morning, planned to come to church, and was just really fighting coming. For some reason, it just felt like we just weren't feeling it. The kids. My daughter especially just was not feeling it, and so I was thinking, okay, we're just not going to go. We're just going to stay here and swim and not go. And that morning, it felt so heavy. But I remember my son looked at me and he said, "Mom, we're going to Passion City." And I said, "All right, let's go." And I had been praying, Jesus, fill the empty spaces, not only in me but in my kids' hearts. Like, we're all in this journey together, and God, I'm asking that you would take their hearts. You know their hearts. You know what they need better than I do. And I'm asking that you would just put that in them and give them what they need. So my son says, all right, Mom, we're going to Passion City. I said, all right, let's go. We came and came to the gathering that morning. I picked Hallie up afterwards, and she just seemed so fulfilled. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. Once again, you have proven that you're faithful and you're taking care of our hearts. And I'm so grateful. And so we didn't really talk a whole lot about it. I just knew that my kids just seemed so fulfilled, and for that I was grateful.
You didn't even really know that this conversation had happened, that Hallie had opened up and shared what she had with Adria, but you found out later.
Yeah. Found out later. I was at Bible study one night with a group of girls here at Passion City, and one of the student leaders, she said, Courtney, have you heard about Adria? And I said, no, tell me. And she said that Adria was Hallie's tent leader. And Adria lost her dad when she was 8 years old. And I just was speechless. I said, are you kidding me? And she said, yeah, she was in Hallie's tent, and somehow it got brought up that Hallie had lost her dad, and that Adria had lost her dad, and that God brought the two of them together in that moment. And I was floored, because once again, Jesus was so faithful to fill in those empty spaces, and I came undone. It was quite a moment to find that out.
So you were looking for Adria at this point.
Yeah,
You're like,
right.
I gotta know who is Adria.
Yeah.
You guys met, and then you had another conversation a week or two after
That's
that.
right, yeah. After one of the gatherings, I sought Adria out. Sorry, turn and not lose my mic. I sought Adria out, and I found her, and I just said, Adria, thank you for pouring into my daughter. Like, this is incredible. I really can't believe it, but I'm so thankful, and I'm thankful for you. And I asked her, how long had it been since your dad died? And Adria said, it had been 10 years in November. And I looked at her, and I said, do you mind me asking when in November? And she said, it was November 21st. That was the same day that Andrew went to be with Jesus. So a decade later, God took a little girl who was 8 years old, 10 years later, and a little girl who's 7 years old now, brought them together for such a time as this. He allowed their paths to cross, and in order to heal them both. And wow, I mean, we both just wept, just absolutely wept at God, the kindness of that Jesus had just poured out over us.
Yeah, the scripture says, you know, not even one sparrow falls from the sky that Jesus doesn't know about. And so he's so personal and so involved. And in that moment, Adria was available. I love that. You know, I sort of started out in kindergarten. That's where my friend was in that tent, and I felt more comfortable there, but they asked me to be in the first grade tent, and I said, I'll be available. I'll be available. And in her just stepping into that moment, Adria, just you're saying, yes, that one little click has changed all of this and brought so much healing and so much confirmation of the love of God to all of your lives because of availability. And then Courtney says, I'm going to be available. There's 1,000 reasons why we're not going to church today, but we're going to be available to God and open our lives to God. We're going to be in the house of God. We're going to be with the people of God. And I just kind of wonder what would have happened if you hadn't come that day and all this hadn't taken place. And isn't that just a beautiful picture of the faithfulness of God? And what I love about this story is that Shelley and me knew a little bit of the backstory, and I knew that none of this would have happened if somebody else wasn't available. And there's always a somebody else being available. You know what I'm talking about? There's always somebody else that was available that allows the processes of God to happen. And somebody else in this story is Carrie Stanfield, who most people know her husband, Christian, who leads a lot here. But if you don't know Carrie, she's a force to be reckoned with. She is the better half of the Stanfield family. She's going to come join us for just a minute because I want you to know the other half of the story. So amazing. Carrie, welcome. How you doing? Good. So this is pretty crazy because Adria and Courtney and Hallie wouldn't have all this stirring in them right now if it weren't for you. And you were available and you took a step. And I want you to tell everybody a little bit about how all that unfolded, what happened, and how God started speaking to you and how you knew that God wanted you to get involved in this story.
Yeah. Well, it was right before Thanksgiving, and I was on Twitter, and somebody I follow on Twitter mentioned something about Courtney's husband passing away. I guess it was actually somebody that knew Andrew, and he was just, saying how sad he was, and he had a link to the story because it was in the news because it was just such a tragic accident. And so immediately, and they had a picture, and not that picture, but a similar picture of their family. Maybe not that day, but later on, I saw this picture of their family, and immediately my heart connected with Courtney. My heart broke for her. There's just so many similarities. Like I said that she and her husband were like high school sweethearts and got married young, and Christian and I got married very similar ages and have 3 young children, and Andrew was a worship leader. There's just a lot of similarities in her story and things that immediately connected me to her. And I just could not stop praying for her and for Noah and Hallie and Carson. And I just, on Thanksgiving Day, I just remember just being broken all day for her. So, I kind of sat with that for a little while, for a week or two, and then I remember telling Christian, I was like, I think I want to invite Courtney to Passion. And I was like, I don't know this girl, but I just can't stop thinking about her and praying for her. I want to do something. And I was like, I don't know what to do, but I want to do something. And that was kind of what was on my heart, was like, maybe I should invite her to Passion, to the Dome. So I just started looking for her email and looking for a way to get in touch with her, because I'm like, I don't know this girl. I don't have a way of getting in touch with her, but I just felt prompted. So I looked on Facebook, I looked on Twitter, I just sought her out, could not find a way to get in touch with her. And so I kind of decided to just let it lie. I was like, you know what, maybe I'm not supposed to. And I remember Christian and I were in the car, and I was like, I don't want to be somebody who has intentions and doesn't follow through, because that is so, I said that to him because he knew, that's so much of who I am. I have great intentions so often. I'm like, okay, I want to write this note, or I want to do this thing, and I not never, but it's more often that I don't follow through than I do. And I just said, I just feel like I'm supposed to follow through, and I want to. So it turns out he knew somebody who knew Andrew. That week, Christian had a conversation with a guy here at Passion City who knew Andrew and Courtney. And so I was like, maybe I'll email him, see if he has her email. So I got in touch with her, sent her an email, invited her to Passion, and kind of expected to maybe never hear anything from her. Just said, hey, I'm going to invite you, no pressure, I'm praying for you, come if you want. So.
Wow. And so in the midst of that, I'm wondering, how many times did you think, she's not going to know who I am, she's probably swamped with people right now trying to, encourage her, and she doesn't need one more person.
Yeah.
Or what if she answers the email? I don't know if I would even know what to say or do. But she said yes, and she said she would come to Passion. And so that first night of Passion, January 1st, Courtney's coming, you've never met, and she's going to show up at the Dome.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Oh, man. yeah, honestly, when she replied back yes, that's when some fear set in, because I've never walked through anything like this before personally, and I've never even really walked through something like this with somebody else. And you know, you just have that, like, what do you say? You know, what do you? I just remember thinking, like, I don't want to say something stupid. Like, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to, like, say the wrong thing. I just wanted to carry it well. And I mean, I had butterflies like the whole day, knowing I was going to be meeting her, and just feeling like, God, I just want you to speak. I don't have the words for her, but you do. You know what she needs. You know what she needs to hear. Like, just use me if you can to speak truth into her in this moment of, like, just being in such darkness. And
do you guys remember what it was like when you saw each other and it was like, hi?
Yeah.
What was that moment like?
Are you Carrie?
Yes. Yeah, she walked up and said, are you Carrie? Yeah. And there was an immediate connection, like friendship, like in a moment.
It wasn't like too long after that the session started, and y'all are sitting somewhere in the dome, 60,000 people, but y'all are sitting side by side. You've just met each other. And Courtney, you were telling me a little bit about what happened, like in the first couple of songs, something happened that you knew, wow, God is putting all this together.
Yes. Carrie, back up a week. Can we do that?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Back up a week, I went back to Arkansas for Christmas, and that was the hardest week of my life. In that week, I basically had to say goodbye. That's where Andrew was buried. Goodbye to what I knew of him. I knew he was not there, but I had to look and stare death, in the face. And it was an ugly week. I was broken. When I left the cemetery that day, this was a couple days after Christmas, I drove away and I said, God, I can't do this. I said, I just left half of me in that grave, and you're going to have to breathe your life into me, because I cannot do this. Breathe your life into me and call me back to life. So I left that day, flew back to Atlanta, so fragile. Rolled up to the dome on January the 1st, met Carrie. The first few songs started, and there was a moment in one of the songs, it says, you hold the whole world in your hands. I'm holding on to your promises. You are faithful. However, at that point, I could not sing those words. I could not say you were faithful because I had felt so abandoned. I felt, God, I know you say you're never going to leave me or forsake me, but I feel like you have. God, I know that you say you're faithful, and I believe it, but help me believe it really again. Show me your faithfulness. Show me your kindness and your goodness, and that your love never fails. And so during that night, I sat back, and I took it all in, and Carrie looked over at me, this girl that I'd known, maybe 30 minutes. She looked over at me and she said, Courtney, I just feel like I need to tell you this, that God is nearer to you now than he's ever been before. That his heart is for widows and his heart is for orphans, and he is so near to you. And in that moment, God used her literally, Jesus became the mouthpiece. She became the mouthpiece for Jesus, and Jesus just spoke through Carrie to me. In that moment, I knew that I had not been abandoned. And God knew I needed to hear that. And Carrie just spoke that over me, this complete stranger. We're just strangers sitting here. And so then the night went on, and Louis got up and spoke on Ezekiel 37, where God took the dry bones and he attached and repaired the ligaments and the tendons. he wrapped them up with skin and breathed life into them again. And that word came alive in me that night. I just started weeping. I looked over at Carrie and I said, "Are you kidding me?" Carrie didn't know anywhere where I just came. We did not know each other at all. She had no idea the week I had just come out of I was dead. I just did not know how I was going to go on, and it was just pleading that Jesus would breathe life back into me. And so God used Carrie to just open her hand and release what she had, and these girls have become the hands and feet of Jesus. Shelley and Louie, God has used them in a powerful, mighty way to open this door to healing that I am still in the process of in my life, and I'm so thankful.
It's amazing. God is amazing.
Yeah.
Carrie, I know that for you, you said this a couple different ways. I've heard you say in the last few months, but you thought, I don't know this girl, but I really feel like God wants me to take this step. And you did, and you gave, you were available, but you got something back also.
Yeah, incredible. Absolutely. It still blows me away because I think, what if I had not followed through with my intentions? And the friendship that Courtney and I have shared, and that even our kids are sharing, is incredible, and it's been such a gift. We really are walking life together, and have just become such great friends, and it's incredible to me the story that God is weaving through just Courtney and her faith and trust in Jesus. And honestly, what I've gotten is not just friendship, but watching Courtney walk through this journey has been the most sharpening thing for my faith. And the fact that Jesus was good enough to invite me into this friendship so that he could show me more of himself, it has been unbelievable. The way that she is walking and trusting Jesus day by day is unbelievable. And I keep saying, I shouldn't be receiving here. I should not be receiving here. I would hope, that I would be able to give you something, but she's just pouring her life out to me. And it's incredible. And it's been such a gift. And I've, just received so much blessing from her life. And just really blown away by the way God has connected our hearts.
So great. The Holy Spirit obviously took a step, prompted you. Other people probably had influenced that in your life, even somewhere along the way. So there's probably some other person in this story that we could add another person to the sofa, and another person, and another person. But it's that domino effect of faithfulness. And Adria, I just love just watching you watch this, because I feel like you're having a whole new day. That 10 years have gone by since you lost your dad, but I feel like maybe God's now opening your eyes to some things. Maybe that got sort of pushed aside a little bit, and now you're encouraging Courtney. I saw that as you guys are talking. She's like, okay, she made it 10 years. That's amazing. I'm going to hang on to that. Then you're looking at her and going, she's doing amazing. This is incredible. And you're looking at Carrie and how God brought Carrie into her life, and you're being encouraged. I'm just sitting there watching your faith sort of grow in this whole time, but you're believing something for your life right now, aren't you?
I just think it's such a picture of when God tells you, or you have that instinct just to do it, because you're stepping out of your comfort zone. I stepped out of mine. Carrie stepped out of hers. But look at the picture that's been painted here, and it's not even just me, and it's me, it's Courtney, it's Carrie, it's Hallie, it's her kids. It's such a bigger picture than just ourselves. So that's where that humility comes in of, all right, I'm doing this because I want to serve, but look what all is going to happen from just you being available.
So great. It's so great. Thank you guys so much.